Okay, so let's jump in. Today, we're doing a deep dive that goes a little beyond the familiar story of Ruth and Boaz.
hmm
We're looking at the legal architecture, the system that was in place that even made their story possible. Specifically, we're digging into Ruth chapter 2.
Right. Our mission here is to really understand the legal safety net that allowed Ruth, a widow, and a foreigner to go from being completely vulnerable to, well, secure.
And to do that, we first have to ask a pretty basic question. What was law even for in most ancient societies?
Well, that's the key. For most ancient cultures, law was about one thing, protecting the assets and status of the elite, the people who had something to lose.
The haves, basically.
Exactly, the haves. And that meant the system was, pretty unstable for everyone else. We even see this in early Israel.
Oh, like the story of Micah in Judges.
That's a perfect example. Here's a wealthy man, and he loses everything, his idols, his priest, all of it, just because there was no king, no public enforcement, no one to call.
Okay, so that's the standard model. It protects existing wealth. But when we look at the Israelite law codes, the focus is just completely different.
It's a radical shift. The core isn't about protecting wealth. It's about implementing a divine idea of compassion, of love, really.
And this wasn't just a vague idea, right? It names specific groups.
Oh, absolutely. The law explicitly protected those who were structurally excluded, the people who didn't have a built-in protector. So the widow, the orphan, and critically for this story, the sojourner, the foreigner.
Which brings us to the how. How did the law do this? And
Yeah.
that's where we get to the practice of gleaning.
Yes. The law, you find it in Deuteronomy, it mandated that when landowners were harvesting their fields, grain, olives, whatever, they were legally forbidden to go back a second time for anything they missed.
So they couldn't be too efficient.
Exactly. That leftover portion wasn't for them. It was legally reserved for the marginalized. And what's fascinating is the reason the text gives for this law.
Right, it's not just be nice.
No, it's a command. It says, "Remember you were slaves in the land of Egypt." Their own collective memory of vulnerability was supposed to define their compassion. It was written right into the statute book.
Okay, so let's take that whole framework and drop it right into Ruth chapter 2. Here's Ruth. She's a widow and a foreigner. She fits two of the categories.
She does, and she goes to exercise this exact legal right during the barley harvest. And the text says she, quote, chanced upon a field.
But it wasn't just any field.
Not at all. It belonged to Boaz, who just so happened to be a close relative, someone who could act as her kinsman redeemer.
And the language the text uses there is so intentional, isn't it? It's this idea of coincidence versus something else.
It's incredible. The text uses a word that means random chance for her arrival. But then, just as Boaz shows up, it uses a phrase that implies perfect timing.
So what looks like luck on the surface?
The text is framing as a perfectly timed divine arrangement, an arrangement made possible by this pre-existing legal right.
This is where it gets really good. So Boaz shows up, he sees her, and he asks his crew, whose young woman is this? He's asking about her affiliation, right? Who's protecting her?
Yes, who is she with? And the answer is essentially nobody. She's an unaffiliated Moabitess, and Boaz's response just goes so far beyond what the law required.
Way beyond. He didn't have to do what he did next.
Not at all. The law only required him to let her pick up leftovers behind his harvesters. But Boaz invites her to stay with my maidens, with his paid, protected female employees.
That's such a profound shift. He's moving her from being an outsider with a legal right to an insider under his personal protection.
He's offering her affiliation. He's giving her safety and belonging that goes so far beyond mere charity or legal minimums.
So the core takeaway here is that the purpose of this law wasn't just about setting a minimum standard. It was about creating a space for grace and shelter.
Exactly. Boaz took a legal mechanism, gleaning, and he transformed it into an act of personal, intentional provision.
So that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If these ancient laws were designed to mandate action to protect the vulnerable, what does it mean when grace goes beyond the law? And how might that ancient countercultural idea challenge some of our modern systems, which so often seem focused on just doing the bare minimum?